And here we are then, folks. Here is the Marvel Legends retro card-backed Spiral figure in hand. Just arrived. Well, I say just arrived. A couple of hours ago, the courier man came to the door. In fact, he had 2 parcels for me today, so there'll be another review coming very, very quickly. But here she is. Very pleased to have another villain in the mix in my little kind of Marvel Legends X-Men display area. I'm one of those sinners who's mixing up my cell-shaded Marvel Legends figures with my VHS cell-shaded line. I know. I'll be run out of town on a rail and exiled from the action figure collecting community, I'm sure. But it appears that the retro cardback range is where it's at for X-Men figures in Marvel Legends right now, because we've had Beast recently, Apocalypse recently, and then Spiral is part of a wave, as you can see here, that includes a Wolverine in the blue and yellow, a Longshot, and then a Multiple Man and the Dark Phoenix, in addition to this Spiral figure. I've not gone in on the whole wave, I've just picked up a couple that tickle my fancy, and Spiral definitely tickled my fancy. I've not been collecting Marvel Legends so heavily in previous years, but I've really gone for it lately, and so I'm very pleased to see not only a re-release of the character, but an updated version, so here it is. Exciting times. So let's have a quick look at the packaging. It's on the retro card. It's in the purple backing colour to indicate that she is a villain. A little bit of flavour text down here and a red star in front of this excellent artwork. Sorcerer Swords. I don't know if it's me, but I'm just wondering if someone in Marvel Legends HQ is just got a random word generator and is just smashing loads of text into the word generator and coming up with these weird phrases. And then it's Marvel's Spiral, should you mistake this Spiral for any other Spiral. You can see the figure in the blister pack on the front with all the wealth of goodies that are included as added value with this figure. And then on the back, we've got some digital render photography of all the characters in this line. Wolverine, Dark Phoenix, Longshot, Multiple Man, Marvel's Avalanche, and Marvel's Spyro. Oh, Avalanche doesn't merit getting on the top corner head shots. Nope, no Avalanche there, nor a Spiral. Then all the legal bollocks down here. We've got the black and white line drawing with the blue background, the retro line drawing, which just looks really basic and shit to me. And then some more flavour text. Spiral. Mojo's deadly enforcer possesses additional cybernetic limbs, powerful mystical abilities, and a deep enmity for her former flame, Longshot. And then that same flavour text in a variety of different languages. And that's it with card backed. You know, there's not sides or tops to be looking at. It's the front and the back. Okay, so I'm going to get my finger under here and try and just peel this back off so we can get in there. Look at that. Skills. Oh, paperwork. So we'll slide Spiral out like that. Oh, it's a double layered one, look. We've got the figure and the swappable hands in the top shelf, and then the weaponry in the bottom shelf. So we've got not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 katanas in there, as well as a big kind of golden broadsword thing, which I believe is a reuse from... Oh, I know I've heard it mentioned around Angela from the Guardians of the Galaxy, and then I think this axe is Angela's as well, this kind of pickaxey thing. It's taped. It's got tape right around it. There we go. So there's all the weaponry. Then on the top shelf, we've got more tape, my nemesis. Patent pending on that fingernail biter action figure unpacking tool. Watch this space. MoDXtra Kickstarter coming soon. There we go. Right, tape's off, and we've got an alternative cybernetic hand, and then an alternative flesh-covered hand, and then the figure herself. Oh, I hate that noise. Ugh. Here's Spiral with all her additional limbs and tons of weaponry. So that's the figure unboxed. I'm going to go away now and have a little bit of man-child playtime. Going to do some posing. Going to make some displays. Going to have perhaps a little X-Men versus Spiral battle on the coffee table in the living room. Perhaps try out some photos, see how I feel. And then I'll be back in a couple of days to share some review thoughts. So stick around, folks. That's the unboxing done. We're now going to move into some review time. Okay, here we are then, folks. I'm back. It's been a couple of days, as promised, and I've been away and had some hands-on time to engage with my Spiral figure, and I'm ready now to return with some review thoughts to share with you all. So, if you have arrived for the very first time today at MoDXtra Games and Collectibles channel, let me just let you know how a review goes. I do it in 3 parts that I call the 3 A's. The first A is aesthetic. We're going to talk about how does Spiral look? What's the visual experience? What are the aesthetic elements like? Then the second A, that's articulation. Let's talk about posability. Can we get her into the type of poses and positions that we want as photographers, as shelf display owners, as big man children who play with their toys, etc, etc. And then finally, the third A is accessories or added value stuff. What else comes in the pack that's going to make our storytelling with our figures more exciting, our playtime more exciting, just give us a better action figure experience. And with all those 3 A's covered, you should hopefully have a few thoughts from me that will help you make your mind up if you're thinking about picking up a Spiral of your own. So without further ado, let's get into it. Let's crack off the first day and talk about aesthetic. All right then, folks, I've just brought Spiral a little bit nearer to the camera so that we can get a kind of closer, finer appreciation of the visual elements of the figure. And I'm going to call it out right up top. I am much happier with Spiral than I have been with a number of other Marvel Legends figures that I have picked up and reviewed lately. There are some regular criticisms that I find myself repeating over and over and over again and popping in the, in the cons column. And Spiral has put a line through a good number of them. Not all. There are still some things that I want to call out that are very typical of Marvel Legends, really. But in the big picture, yes, definitely crossed a lot of the regular criticisms that I have of Marvel Legends figures off the list, and that is super pleasing to me. Super pleasing to me. So Hasbro, Marvel Legends team, if you're watching, because obviously they clearly religiously watch my reviews over all else. This is the type of effort that I expect in the figures for the price that I'm paying for them. Let's stop with all this lazy bullshit and let's have more of this going on, because Spiral I'm really pleased with visually. One of the key elements of the visual experience that I'm super happy with is her uniform. Her spandex leotard actually looks like it's got some texture to it. There is some fabric texture going on, and it doesn't look like I'm just holding a plastic mold with a bit of spray paint on it. Look at the kind of the more kind of matte feel and quality of her uniform. The fact that we've got some creases and folds in there. There's some just under her boobs here. And then, the insides of the legs are pretty good. You see those there on the inside of her thigh and down below her knee. Really super duper awesome. Then down here, we've got the sculpt of her abs. Her 6-pack just under there, but it's so subtly done. It's really nicely done. It's got a lot of reality to it in a way that it's just kind of tightly pulled across the muscles, but they're not over accentuated either. They're just very subtly molded in with a little bit of shadow on them. Just perfect, absolutely perfect. And loads of other textured elements as well, bringing it to life, like the what do you call them? The armbands. Metallic armbands. They got nice texture and feel. Obviously, the bionic arm. Yeah, the bionic arm. It's got a very traditional sort of X-Men-y bionic look and feel, this sort of metallic stripy pattern. But it's well sculpted, well molded, bringing some texture and depth to the character. And actually, while I've got around this way, look at the metallic wristbands. They're sculpted on. Brilliant into the figure, nice neat paint applications, lovely sort of silver metallic sheen to them as well, so the colour scheme is spot on. And while I'm talking about the silvery metallic elements, this paint scheme continues into the helmet and the shoulder pads, all very consistent throughout the entire figure, which I appreciate. The tones of those colours are the same. Lots of nice details in the helmet too. We've got the spikes across the top. Nice neat blue paint applications on this blue stripe sections here. The little horn bits. The pattern across the rear neck guard back of the head neck guard bit is consistent with the armbands and the bionic arm. All ties together, very cohesive, lots of texture, lots of just layers of things that have actually been sculpted and made to look like what they are, which I super appreciate. It's not just a single sheet of plastic with a bit of spray paint on it, which makes a big difference. You can really see it. The detail on her little gems across the chest here as well. Paint applications, a little bit sloppy. It is Marvel Legends after all. I can't get it all, I suppose. But you can see just there that even though they're obscured by the shoulder pads and the hair a lot of the time, they've got a fantastic kind of sculpted feel to them. Again, they're not just painted on circles or badly applied decals that look really weird. So yeah, loving that. Lots of texture and depth. And then the hair, look at the sculpt on the hair as it drapes down across her back there. Brilliant, lovely sculpt. It is a single colour. There's not a great deal of a wash to give it too much depth. But that's kind of fine. You know, she's is an alien, other kind of look and feel to it, so I can get with that, but the quality of the sculpt is tremendous, and that's also consistently carried on down in her furry boots. At least I think these are boots, like leg warmers. I'm familiar with the character from the comic books. I don't remember her, like, this isn't grown hair, even though they've done the same colour and sculpt style as the hair on her head. But just sticking to the texture and detail element of what I'm talking about in terms of the visual experience, look at that, really well sculpted, lots of detail. It's a piece in its own right over the top of the legs. So just really bringing more character, more personality, telling more of that story. Yeah, really appreciating that. And then while we're talking about sort of added bits on the figure, we've got the belt here as well in the brown, painted buckle in the center, again consistent with the other silvery metallic sections, although again bit sloppy around the edges. The top's not painted, that's still brown up there. But the brown pouches have got texture in them. They've got a kind of leathery style feel. And of course, they're very consistent with the 90s pouch mania of our Marvel characters. So yeah, just really, that stands out to me. Like after having Dark Phoenix, which came in the same package, so the two pre-orders, Dark Phoenix and Spiral came at the same time. The sort of plasticky, shiny experience of Dark Phoenix compared to the more textured, fabric textured reality of this is, I mean, they're miles apart. Let's not get too carried away singing Spiral's praises, though, because there are a couple of little elements visually that I think we need to point out. So the face sculpt, for example, while once again it's a really good face sculpt, the facial features are top notch, they're brilliant. The shape, the paint applications on the lips and the eyes and the eyebrows, all really awesome, excellent, and super neat considering some of the other areas are a little bit slapdash. What we've got here, once again, is that plain, expressionless face thing going on. Like, just the facial expressions are so bland with Marvel Legends. They could have perhaps done so much more. In Marvel Legends team's defense a little bit, I do recall Spiral from reading the comics back in the 90s to be quite a serious, sort of plain-faced, stoic character. But I also do remember seeing her in the midst of sword fights with the likes of Psylocke and Wolverine and looking a lot more kind of fierce than what we're getting here. And I think I'd have liked something at least with a bit of life, a bit of energy to it. There's stoic and serious, and then there's just bland and expressionless. And while the paint applications and the quality of the sculpt is really good, it's just a little bit, I've said it many times in these reviews, you'll be sick of hearing me saying it if you're a regular. I like to tell stories with my figures, and that expression doesn't help me tell a story. There's not a great deal of narrative being communicated there. But I have seen her be more fierce, and I would have liked a bit more of that. And then the other thing visually that has hurt me a little bit is there's these lines down the front of the legs here, because I don't believe they're seam lines in the outfit. I think they're actually mold, plastic mold lines that kind of look a bit unfinished and untidy and undone, and it's such a shame because when you look at like the awesome texture, like the pocket there, and see these little creases around the knees, brilliant. lovely piece of sculpting there with an actual seam up the side of the trouser leg. It's just a bit spoilt by this feeling that it's a touch unfinished on the front there. And after singing the praises of the paint choices and the sculpt choices with the body that sets her apart from the Apocalypses and the Dark Phoenixes that I've slagged off for looking too shiny and plasticky lately, they then have to go, yeah, but you still need to be sure you know that it's a plastic toy because look, we've left the plastic mold lines down the front of the legs. So yeah, they've let themselves down a little bit there, I'm afraid to say. However, that said, overall, broadly speaking, despite the expressionless face, the more slapdash paint applications in a few spots and these mold lines down the front of the legs, I'm very, very happy with the figure, and it's definitely a MoDXtra thumbs up. There's some stuff I can forgive, you know, the plastic seam lines down the front of the legs. Is it bothersome? Yeah, it is. But is it actually a plastic toy? And so, you know, you've got plastic mold lines? Yes, I can look past that. The expressionless face, I can work with it. It's not been ideal for some of the stuff I've wanted to do photography-wise, but it is what it is, so that's how it rolls. But overall, especially when I compare it by the standard of what I've seen from some other Marvel Legends stuff lately, definitely a big old thumbs up there. And in combination with some of the thoughts I'm going to share in the next sections, it's going to take leaps and bounds ahead of the rest of the competition in the Marvel Legends line. So, on that note, should we talk about the articulation now? And have you ever seen such an articulated figure in all your life? This is a really interesting situation because of the 6 arms. And there's lots going on. There's a lot going on to the credit of Hasbro and the Marvel Legends team. They've done a top-notch job there. But let's go in order, the usual order. Let's start with the head. And frankly, while it is articulated, it's the bell joint up at the top of the neck here, the articulation is not very good at all in the head. This is largely restricted by the hair sculpt down the back, the hair sculpt down the front, and the way the helmet hangs over the top of the shoulders here. So there's very little you can do in terms of head articulation, very little indeed, which is a shame, but I get it. It's not, you know... that's a piece of articulation that's been foregone for the visual experience, and that's all right, I suppose. Then into the arms, and boy, we've got a lot going on here. Every single one of these arms, all 6 of them, are fully articulated to have a hinge at the top of the shoulder. I don't know if you can see those under there. There you go, hinge at the top of the shoulder. They've all got swivel at the top of the bicep and tricep. They've all got the double elbow. Although that one's a bit stiff. There you go. All got the double elbow with a good range of articulation. And they've all got the standard Marvel Legends pinned hands that can swivel in the socket and then have the hinge up and down like so. And that's consistent across every single one of the arms. They've just really engineered that exceptionally well in order to give you that full range of motion. Although, as you can imagine, the arms at the top here, the shoulder hinge is somewhat restricted by the presence of an arm underneath it in the armpit area. But, you know, again, what you're going to do, that's just Spiral's alien biology, that is. That's nothing to do with the Marvel Legends team. We've then got the joint here, the chest joint just below the chest line. Gives you some swivel at the top there, some crunch. Quite a good bit of motion here. She's quite loosey-goosey as well, this one, which is nice. No waist cut. Then in the legs, we've got a thigh swivel at the top of the thigh. The hip articulation there, which goes out that far, decent forward, usual kind of restricted back because of the arse cheek curve. A solid pinless double knee that goes that far there, obviously somewhat restricted by the poofy leg warmers. And then the ankles. I'm not quite sure what's going on with the ankles, so I think there's a hinge forward and back, and I think there's a rocker, but it's, again, largely restricted by the leg warmers there. It's awkward. There's no swivel at the top of the boot either, which is somewhat problematic, actually, because in terms of articulation, I've found Spiral to be a little bit of a tricky independent stander. The combination of the added kind of top-heavy weight that's going on here and the strange distribution of weight with all these extra limbs and the restricted feet movement and the absence of a boot cut has meant that sometimes I've been trying to get her into a particular pose and look really dynamic and action with her swords, which I'll get to in a minute, only to find that it's not a good balance and she topples. I find her quite a frequent toppler, which is annoying. I've also noticed that I'll get her, like right now she's standing fine. I've had to fidget and fiddle with that, but I've got it there and I'm happy with it. But I have a little shelf on the top of my monitor where I put my most recent additions to the collection because I like to have them around and play with them a lot. When I'm in the the cult of the new feeling, I'm feeling all new and fresh and excited. And she's been falling off loads, so she'll be fine. But then a little knock of the desk, or I'll be typing on my keyboard and something, and she'll just sort of wobble and fall. So aesthetically, she looks great, and they've obviously done some kind of engineering in order to acknowledge the aesthetic. So no boot cut. They've obviously some restriction here with regards to the rocker and the hinge on the arms, and then the fact that she's arms on the ankles, and then the fact that she's got all these extra limbs. But there is a downside to that. There's a payoff. A trade that's being paid there because she's not a great independent stander. And sometimes you'll find that the positions you put her in to make sure she is staying standing, you're like, well, that's not quite what I was actually going for. Take my hands away there. That should be all right, yeah. So Articulation, really impressed and blown away by what they've managed to achieve here with the 6 arms. That's great. And to have the full range of standard, well, case in point there, folks, but to have the full range of standard articulation in these arms, tremendous. Really impressed to see that going on. The head thing is just what it is. That happens all the time with long-haired characters. But I think they needed to think through what was going on down here a bit more with the ankles and the top of the calf and the boot area to help support the added weight and the more ambitious posing desires of people who would own this figure. So as far as articulation goes, I'm kind of a bit... I'm upper mid on that. It's not a full thumbs up, but it's not a full middle. It's definitely not a thumbs down because I'm blown away by the arms. I just believe that one of the absolute fundamentals is that the character's able to independently stand without too much repeated fussing and faffing and fiddling, and that your engineering should at least, at minimum, give you a good stander. You know what I mean? So there we go. Right, well, there's Spiral's articulation. Let's now take a look at the accessories and added value. And to start with, we've got a couple of swappable hands for Spiral. These both go on the left arm side, and we've got a skin-coloured hand and then a swappable hand for the cyborg arm. The cyborg swap is from a fist to a grip so that they can so that she can hold a weapon there, and then this is just a kind of open palm balancy thing. Oh, that reminds me, I meant to mention each of the hands have been sculpted with the 3 fingers and the thumb, comic book lore accurate. Now, I like these. These are good swappable hands, for the least reason of which they're actually kind of proportionate finger size and lengths, not the weird spindly things that they do with the female Marvel Legends, but yeah, 2 swappable hands, which are appreciated. They're nice. Certainly a sword-holding hand for the cyborg arm is good. They're on the pegs, as usual, and you just pop them out and pop them in like so. Then, as you saw in the unboxing, it is bladed weapons for days. There are 4 katana swords here. These are nice sculpts, actually. Nice metallic shine to the blade. Nice sculpting on the grip and the hilt. I'm pretty sure they're reuse. Is there like an Elektra, maybe, or the Foot Ninja? Not the Foot Ninja, that's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The Hand Ninja, sorry, have possibly had these before. But yeah, they're good sculpting, and we get 4 of those. Then there's another sword, which looks more like a kind of broadswordy type thing. This is in a gold sculpt with a brown hilt, but again, some nice sculpted details on there, and a little bit of colour variety. It's a bit wibbly-wobbly. And then this rather nasty-looking axe thing, again in the gold colour scheme. Nice details in the grip of this too, although no change in colour on that. So whereas we've got the kind of brown element on this and the brown element on those, that's just all one single moulded piece of plastic. Which of course means that not a single Spiral hand goes weaponless. Very true to the comic book lore, of course. That's her fighting style, the many swords in all the different arms that go along with her additional kind of science fiction magic power thingies that she does. Yeah, so a wonderful selection of weaponry there, and the 2 swappable hands, which means that added value-wise, Spiral is, yeah, full of value. You get 4 extra arms. a sum total of 6 more weapons than you normally get, and the 2 swappable hands, which begs the question, Hasbro, how come I've got a better looking, better articulated, much more accessorized figure for the same price than I have with other stuff? If you could do it, then why not? Oh, I can't go on about it anymore. We all know where that's at, but yeah, accessory selection, big thumbs up. Okay, figure comparison time now, folks, and here is Spiral with her fellow X-Men Retro Card 2022 Wave friend, the Dark Phoenix here. I mentioned the Dark Phoenix earlier. Hopefully you can sort of see the distinction in terms of the quality of the outfit, the uniform, you know, the spandex leotard. The whole thing that's going on with Spiral there is 10 times better than what we've got going on with Dark Phoenix with regards to how shiny that is, or how much more texture and depth there is. Just bad choices all around with the body from the neck down on Dark Phoenix, I reckon, in comparison. And when you put them side by side, you can really see it. And here's Spiral with a retro carded X-Men from last year, 21 maybe, the Gambit here. He is, again, one of my favourite kind of sculpts as far as a figure goes. His shininess in the body armour, much more forgivable than it is in other figures. But yeah, I think it's a good fit. I've got to be honest, I haven't got a lot of the kind of Mojo Worldy, cosmic kind of X-Men people that would line up well with Spiral, and I haven't got a Psylocke who I'd really love to pair her up with, because that's who I remember her having a big old fight with in the Jim Lee X-Men in the early 90s, so I've gone with Gambit. And here's Spiral with my recent animated X-Men line, the VHS specials, Cyclops here. He's cel-shaded, but doesn't seem to bother me. In fact, the more I look at this figure and the more I use him, the more I get him out, the more I'm appreciating him for what he is. So, yeah, there you go. There's Spiral with Cyclops. Okay then, folks, well, here is Spiral on the turntable, making her way around in the pose that I kind of settled on last night when I finished up taking some pictures and popped her on the table ready to review today. It's not really where I want it to be. The absence of boot cut and the leg warmers obstruction around the ankles, and then the increased top heaviness of the 6 arms is problematic for someone who's not particularly imaginative or very good at posing figures as I am. And it's something I'm working on, but it's been a struggle, folks. It's been a struggle, and it has affected my enjoyment of the figure somewhat. So I love the aesthetic. I think it's awesome, and I'm bowled away by the quality of the engineering that they put into the articulation with the 6 arms up top there. I think that's really, really great. She looks top notch. She's got everything I want. I just can't quite. I don't know if I'm the problem, because I'm not great at the figure posing bit, and therefore can't kind of work my way around the challenges of the absence of boot cut and the ankle stuff, or it's a problem with the figure, and I can't really pin down which it is. But you know, these reviews, I can only share my experience, so I'll let you decide which way round that is. I'll be the first to confess I'm not the most imaginative of figure posers in the first place, so you know, maybe that's what it is. Maybe I need to be more imaginative. But yeah, it is troublesome. It is troublesome. And she just topples. She's been toppling all the time. And there's nothing worse than putting a figure in a position and you're about to take the photo. I was doing the thumbnail shots yesterday, and she just keeps falling over just at the moment of the shutter going. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, God. And then you reconfigure it. You try fiddling fast. And then every minor movement that you make just takes her a little bit further away from the pose that you actually wanted for the shot, which is, I don't know, not good. So, yeah, I like the figure. I'm definitely recommending Spiral. I think just the actual attention to detail, which stuns me to my core from the Marvel Legends team, you know, actually some effort with some attention to detail is enough to make me go, yeah, this is a figure to pick up because she's really awesome. She's so unique as well in terms of the comparable to other figures in the line. You know, this isn't like, I don't know, just seeing the Vulcan book over and over and over again with a different paint job on it, you know what I mean? So she's so unique. The added value in there, you got 4 extra arms, 2 extra hands, and 6 extra weapons. Awesome, you know what I mean? I can live with the fact that the head can't move so good, and I can't figure out the legs. You know what I mean? So, and I'm sure you can too. So that's where I'm going to finish it up. That's my final thought with a recommends with caveats, with small print. All right, well, there we are then, folks. I hope you enjoyed my Spiral review today. If you have, then please do take a moment and make the effort to give me a like down below. It takes you just a second, but it means ever so much to me, and it helps out in all sorts of immeasurable ways. Also, if you're not subscribed, which I know like 70% of you aren't according to my stats, then please do take the time to subscribe. Maybe you'll enjoy more of these reviews in the future. Why not give it a punt? Doesn't cost you nothing. You can always unsubscribe in the future if it's not working out. I've been Chris. This is MoDXtra Games and Collectibles. Thank you so very much. It's been a pleasure having you. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you again sometime soon. Ta-ra now, folks.